Russell Wilson last night. So 7-1 in the last 8. So that's good. Now, I will say this, Joy, is that, you know how like when you're driving, I'm driving north after the show today. You go the speed limit, a little over the speed limit.
Right.
But there are places you have to speed down. There's speed traps or, you know, like if you're driving in the country, but then you come into a small town and there's a few overpasses, be very careful. You know, the cops are hiding.
Yeah. And
you slow down.
Yeah, yes.
So as I go north for about an hour today and drive, I'll drive a little over the speed limit, but then I'll get into like Ventura and I'll be like, okay, slow down a little, overpasses. It's the same. I did not bet this week as much as I did last week. I don't like the numbers as much this week. In fact, the number I like the most is not as good today as it was Monday, and I already bet it. I make my bets often on Monday, a couple of them, because the number's better.
So don't put any mortgages down this
I'm
weekend.
just saying, this is not, and I have buddies who do this for a living, this is not a great week. I do believe I have the 5 best bets. And this is what I do. You can ask John Goulet. This is all week I do this. Every day I call him and say, get rid of this game. These are the 5 best.
There's a lot of great games, not a lot of great numbers.
Let's just say this, right? Today, my Blazing 5 is a small town with an overpass, and there's a cop on the bridge looking at you. So just slow down a little this week on your money spent.
You can make it through safely. Just don't go crazy.
Yeah. Last week, I literally just told my wife, house may be up for sale, or we'll buy another one. I threw everything at it. All right, here we go. All of our odds provided by Fox Bet.
That's a hot one. Let's blaze it up. Fire it up. It's Colin's Blazing 5. Falcons at Saints.
Okay, the numbers changing rapidly. When we did this segment, this morning, it was 4.5 Atlanta. I would take the Falcons here. First of all, now I think the Saints with Taysom Hill are kind of experimenting at quarterback. I do not like that. Remember, the Falcons are coming off a bye with extra time, and Raheem Morris is not only 3-1, but he's trying to win the head coaching job. And in this division, he thinks he can get to a wild card spot. He may be wrong. We know Atlanta since week 6. They can move the ball. We don't question that. But they've allowed fewer than 30 points in 5 straight games. Again, this is a coaching staff coaching for million-dollar contracts here. Raheem Morris wants his second head coaching job. And I feel like the Saints are kind of experimenting more than I would be comfortable with. We have an upset or two every week in the league. I'm going to take the Falcons with the upset win, 28-27 here.
Eagles and Browns.
Like it. I love it. Philadelphia is absolutely the play here, plus 3.5. Listen, Philadelphia's head coach, their quarterback, and their practice habits are all under question in Philadelphia, the sports talk capital of the country. They're getting pulverized. So Philadelphia is a totally focused week. And by the way, they lost to the Giants. But they didn't commit a turnover, and that defense is way better than Cleveland's. The Browns have scored 10 or fewer points in 4 games this year. Only the Jets have fewer. Cleveland struggles when they face better defensive lines because Baker struggles under pressure. That is no longer just an opinion. That is a fact. I think Philadelphia, Wentz, Doug Peterson, practice habits better, beats the Browns 24-20.
Packers at Colts.
I'll take the Colts minus 2.5. Wise guys are split on this, but I get the Colts team that has extra prep time. They played on Thursday. I like that. But here's the game in a nutshell. Phillip Rivers. The Packers defense has only created 7 turnovers this year. Second fewest in the league. What does it mean? Phillip Rivers is comfortable. Phillip Rivers sacked only 8 times this year. Fewest in the league. Phillip Rivers is comfortable. Rivers 100-plus passer rating, 3 or 4 games. Rivers is comfortable. The Colts defense will not make life comfortable for Aaron Rodgers. Number 1 in total D, lowest opposing passer rating. What does this game mean? Look at the numbers for Phillip Rivers. He's not getting hit. He's not getting rushed. He's got a running game. The Packers don't take the ball away, meaning they don't speed the game up for you. A comfortable Phillip Rivers beats an uncomfortable Aaron Rodgers. Colts win 24-20.
Chiefs at Raiders.
Loved this number on Monday. It was Kansas City minus 6.5. It's now Kansas City minus 8.5. I will still take it. A little lower number. Pull the money you put in. But I'm going to take Kansas City minus 8.5. Why? Andy Reid is 18-3 off a bye. That's better than Belichick. It's the best in the NFL by far. So I get a team off a bye that got beat. It's only lost the last time they played the Raiders. Their offense is not only good, 32 a game, but that's not considering the Raiders' defense is below average. The Raiders have only sacked the quarterback 11 times this year. Outside of Max Crosby, who we had on this week, they have no pass rush. So I get a healthy, well-coached team with extra time. There's a major COVID issue right now with the Raiders for the second time this year. I'm going to take the Chiefs by 10. It was my favorite play of the week on Monday. Probably my second favorite play, 36-26 Chiefs.
Rams and Buccaneers.
Again, the number was better earlier in the week, but I'm going to take Tampa Bay minus 4.5. Something to consider. I've bet 7 Ram games this year. I'm 6-1. It's the team I feel best about, and I've had a very simple solution. Jared Goff is an NFL quarterback I like. I think he's a B to a B+. But when he's uncomfortable, he's not the same quarterback. 4-0 at home. Only 2-3 on the road. Andrew Whitworth, knee on the IR. Watch out, because this Bucs defense, second most sacks, number 1 rushing defense, will force Jared Goff to throw with a backup left tackle. And Andrew Whitworth is probably a top 3 tackle in the NFL. With Ronnie Stanley out, he may be the best left tackle or second best left tackle. Also something to consider here. If the Saints lose on Sunday with Taysom Hill, the Buccaneers watch that game and have extra motivation on Monday to win and make up a game as Drew Brees is out. I like Brady to beat the Rams 28-23. It'll be close to the number, which was better earlier in the week. For more on my Blazing 5 picks, check out the Fox Bet social platforms. So you have to be, and if people say you're just making excuses, no. I'm telling you where the speed traps are. I'm telling you I like Atlanta the dog, Philadelphia the dog, and then I like the favored Colts, the favored Chiefs, and the favored Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lines. COVID this year has been, there's a Myles Garrett story this morning. When I woke up, I'm driving to work, I come to Fox, and all of a sudden I look up on the screen behind me, and there's a Myles Garrett COVID story. If Myles Garrett doesn't play, Carson Wentz is going to have another half second to throw for 3 hours. That's a difference in the NFL between winning and losing a game. So I said this earlier. My coach of the year today in the NFL would be John Gruden. And there's been a lot of good coaches. I think what Brian Flores is doing is remarkable. But first of all, they had to move. In the history of the NFL, teams that move are usually garbage their first year. When the Rams moved to L.A., remember that first year? Unwatchable. Secondly, they've had 2 major COVID outbreaks, one this week. And yet they've beaten Drew Brees and the Saints handily, and they've beaten the Kansas City Chiefs. I've always felt that even the NFL, especially with like a college basketball or baseball or NBA, certain teams winning makes it better. And obviously when the Lakers and LeBron win, it's better for the NBA. If Notre Dame or Ohio State wins in college football, USC, it's better. Yankees in baseball, Dodgers, Cubs, whatever. But I do think the Raiders are one of 7 or 8 brands in the NFL that are really good. I think the Bears have one, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Steelers. But I also believe John Gruden, like Mike Tomlin, is just good for the league. The more he talks, the better it is. He's got this alpha male thing going, and I like it. But what's really interesting about Gruden, he was out of the league for 10 years, and I was a total cynic. And then he hired Mike Mayock, who'd never been a GM, never worked in a front office. I was a total cynic. But what's the best thing about John Gruden, I don't know about you, but to people that make excuses drive you nuts. They do with me. It's a pet peeve. You can't have any excuses. John Gruden has just ended your excuses in Jacksonville, in Detroit, in Atlanta, in Houston. He gets a team. He's been out of the league for 10 years. He hires a GM who's a TV analyst. They have to move. They are, next to Jacksonville, the poorest revenue team in the league. They have no fans, Raider Nation, which has always been, it's an intimidating crowd. And they are loaded on offense. They've beaten Mahomes and Drew Brees. No more excuses. That's what do you do as coach of the year with what you have? Sean McDermott didn't have to move. Brian Flores didn't have to move. When you have to move, 2 major COVID outbreaks, listen, Vegas is different. The league is a bunch of 26-year-old men. They're alphas. Vegas is not Buffalo, okay? It's a little tougher there. It is tougher to win in Miami. It's Miami. It's a port city. There's a lot to do. Outside of Applebee's, Green Bay gets very lonely in the fall. And so you're moving a team Not just the team. You're moving him to Vegas. You got a GM you've never had. He wasn't the GM you initially inherited. They've nailed. I mean, they've had some whiffs, but when they've had whiffs in the draft, I don't need to name them. They've moved off them. They drafted one kid. He couldn't handle Vegas. They moved him out of town. But when I look at it, all the excuses for Detroit and Atlanta and the Chargers and Jacksonville, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in your excuses because Gruden's winning and Mayock's winning and the Raiders are winning and they should not be winning and the league is better for it. And you know what? Urban Meyer has talked about this before. Is that when and Urban Meyer 4 times went to a college team and won very next year. Urban says a lot of times coaches go to a new program and they dog cuss the guys they didn't recruit. Those are not my guys. And Urban's like, no, they are your guys. You're the coach of Bowling Green. Those juniors and seniors, those are